Why are you calling yourself Nigel this week?
That will become clear.
Oh, oh, a bit of mystery.
It is, yeah. Just to start the day, I thought we could do with that.
Mm.
But
Have you
yeah,
got your microphone a bit closer to your face this week?
I have, yeah, yeah. It's a bit. I was trying to get it the same as yours looks in the picture. You see as well. To
Mm.
give it,
I actually thought it's quite good that we couldn't hear you quite as well.
well, there's a lot of complaints saying that my normal witty repartee was lost in the mix, so I had to try and sort that out a bit.
I don't know who was complaining about that, but
Uploads,
they
no,
sound as if they could do with seeing me.
hundreds of people. Wasn't just
Any,
wasn't just an isolated incident.
uh, do you ever wonder how big clouds are?
How big they are, I've never wondered that. No, I like the different formations.
I was
Um,
looking at some clouds the other day. I was lying in the garden, looking up at the clouds, and you know when they're kind of scudding quite quickly across the sky,
I do, yeah.
you look at them and you think, actually, that looks like quite a small cloud. But I imagine myself in it thinking, well, I wonder if this is quite as small as I thought it was. You know, is it 100 meters long, a kilometer long, 10 kilometers long? And I really needed someone to be able to tell me. And I was hoping you were going to be able to clear that up for me.
I think you need to see a therapist yourself, mate. You don't be wondering about those sort of things. You've got a confused mind.
Well, they strike me as some of the more important aspects of life.
Aren't there sort of nine layers of clouds that go up? Hence the phrase "up on cloud nine." Um, so that's all I really know, and it's sort of cumulus nimbus and cumulus stratus and different types of clouds. But I don't know about the size, mate. No, I never wondered about it.
Uh, well, I didn't even know about the 9 levels of clouds. So I don't know about you going on to me about having a strange sort of mind. That's Where
No,
did you learn that? Where did you learn that in geography?
that's just general wisdom, mate.
Is it okay? All right, let's move past clouds, shall
Should
we?
we? Should we have a quick? Well, I'll tell you what we're going to be talking about today.
Go on.
Well, while I've prepared my notes, and I hope you're going to join in. It was about telling lies.
Oh, okay.
So that
Interesting.
that was one reason I lied about my name when I come on, but that's not
Oh, I
that's
see.
that's not the main reason, mate.
Oh,
But I think
good,
yeah,
because that's not a great reason.
it's not great, is it? No.
No,
Um, I mean, lies. We've all indulged in it at some point, haven't we?
no,
Well, well, anyway, well, you are lying now. Absolutely, yeah. We're gonna have trouble getting through this, aren't we?
no.
Every time, every comment that's made, we're going to be saying it's a lie or it's real. But it just struck me. I mean, as us active addicts, or when we are in the madness, and we become sort of masters of the art, or sometimes we think we are, and kid ourselves that we're not letting on exactly what our issues are.
Even though people can see through you.
Absolutely right. I remember there was an AA meeting, and someone was very honest about this, and that they said my name. Actually, I won't use the name. We'll change the name to protect the innocent. Well, we call him Graham. Okay, so Graham said, "Hello, I'm Graham. I'm an alcoholic and I'm a compulsive liar." Which people sort of chuckled and thought and related to, but then again, we don't know if he was an alcoholic in that case, do we? So, who knows?
No.
But before I start talking about telling lies and why we tell them and who we tell them to, um, do you remember last week you talked about your boy Tom going to the Oktoberfest,
I do remember, yeah.
which is October spelled with a K, isn't it? Which is the German spelling, which I think that gives a little bit more gravitas to a beer festival if it's German for some reason, doesn't it? Because
Probably, yeah. It gives more gravitas to a beer festival, but it
yeah,
gives less gravitas to a band name.
it does, doesn't it? Yeah, 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 yeah. I hadn't thought about that, but you're right. Yes.
Oh, unless, well, no. Sometimes it's okay. Split ends, that was okay, wasn't it, with a Z? But generally speaking, if you've substituted the right letter for the wrong one in a
Yeah.
band name, I don't think that's a very good early indication of the sort of music you're going to be
Oh,
enjoying.
okay. Okay. I've not thought about it, mate, but I'll explore that a little bit. Yeah.
Hmm, hmm. Okay.
But
Anyway, yes.
um, well, yeah, this fest. I came across a different kind of fest recently when I was doing a bit of research.
Right.
It was a Nige fest held in a pub in Worcestershire. Okay. It was organised by the landlord called Nigel. Funnily enough.
Right.
And he was concerned because there's no new Nigels in the birth records in the UK between 2016 to 2020. So he's concerned the name Nigel was becoming extinct. So I've,
Wow.
so I've nodded my head in that direction by calling myself Nigel for the day.
Are you so? Are you? Do you think you'd be prepared to go a stage further and change it by deed poll?
I'm not going to do that, mate. No, I'm not that worried about it. I just thought I'd just do my bit, as it were.
It's interesting because I wouldn't be surprised if there weren't that many Martins in the birth register in that same period. I don't know about Graham's.
No,
I probably can't look at that objectively.
no, it's. I didn't do any further research into other names, but apparently 372 Nigels turned up, which all had to bring their own ID to get in. But it didn't break the world record of Nigels in one place because that's held in the same place just pre-COVID when there was 432. They didn't quite beat the Guinness Book of Records for the amount of Nigels in one place.
So it sounds like quite a regular event that he holds there now. Then.
I think it does. I mean, basically he was raising money for charity, and they raised on that particular fest about £3,000 for British Heart Foundation. So that's fair enough, isn't it?
It is. So you can only go if your name's Nigel.
Absolutely right. Yeah. Yeah, you have to take your ID, etc. I mean, I don't know. See, Nigel has died out. I mean, I think we both knew quite a few Nigels at school and in our younger days, didn't we?
I can think of a handful of Nigels that I've known
Yeah,
over the years, but
yeah.
certainly don't know any young Nigels.
No,
No.
perhaps Farage has made it a bit unpopular.
Yeah, I hadn't thought. It's funny enough, when I was thinking about Nigels, I wasn't thinking about him.
So, what about famous Nigels then? I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've got 8 Nigels on my list here. Obviously, I've pre-prepared these. So,
Okay.
so
Nigel Mansell.
He's on. He's the first one on there. Yeah.
Nigel Havers.
Nigel Havers is on there. Yeah, you got 2 out of the 7 so far, mate.
Nigel. Now I've got to the point now with Nigel's where when you write a word down and the more you look at it, the more wrong it looks.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm just hearing the oddness of the word Nigel in my head now, which is kind of stopping me from going any further. Farage presumably got on there.
Yeah, I have, but he was. I'll just put you out in misery. There's a couple of football ones. There's Nigel Clough.
Nigel Clough, yeah.
Nigel Winterburn.
Yeah.
And Nigel Kennedy. Remember him,
Yeah.
Violinist. And Nigel Planer.
Nigel Planer from the young ones.
The young ones. And Nigel Ben. Boom Boom Ben.
Nigel Ben, yeah.
Yeah, so he's in there. They were the Nigels that I could think of.
I can't think of any other Nigels. But as I say, I've got a block with Nigels now.
Yeah, you don't have to think about it anymore. I'll change my name before we record again. So we've done the Nigel thing then, haven't we?
I'm just going to write Nigel down just in case one comes to me as we're recording. You never know.
Nigel Downs, Nigel Underdown. I knew at school.
Nigel Marshall. I knew at school.
Nigel Elcombe.
Yeah.
We shouldn't really be name checking people.
No, and I don't imagine this would be terribly entertaining for our listeners.
No, it won't be, will it? No.
Anyway, listeners, if you know any Nigels, have a little think about them now. Spare them a thought.
Cheer yourself up, yeah.
And if you can think of any famous Nigels that we've missed out,
yeah,
don't bother writing in and telling us.
No.
Yeah.
True. No, because we won't read them.
Okay.
So anyway, why do we lie?
Are you asking me?
Well, I understand from an addict's point of view because we lie about, obviously, when we're in the madness, we lie about the amount we drink because we don't want people to know the depth of our problem and desperately want to defend our lifestyle. But I think we lie also to put a bit of a moat around that because we're really keen not to have the label alcoholic attached to us either, which is probably why we find the term so difficult to live with later on.
Do you think lying is synonymous with alcoholism or addiction?
No. Yes, but it's not confined to that at all, is it? I think
no, it's not confined to it. But I suppose I'm wondering whether every addict lies more than whatever average lying is. Do you think it becomes kind of part of the psychology of the addict?
Very much. Yeah, I think anyone that's in active addiction, or those in recovery, I should say, because it's only when you reflect back and you think about the awful lies you've told, and it does become very much ingrained in your lifestyle. So yeah, I think it is one of the traits of an active addict. Yeah, for sure.
One of the things that seems to always be, I think you just referenced it there, but one of the things that always seems to be present is lying. If you're an alcoholic, is lying about the amount you've drunk.
Yeah.
And what I found interesting about that, and I guess again you've probably just answered it, but even when you're talking to someone, even as an addict, if you're talking to someone who knows you've got a problem and you're recognizing you've got a problem, those people still lie about how much they drink.
Yeah, they do. They do. I mean, there was reckoned down at the local hub when you're going for your assessment, whatever you tell them you drink, they sort of double it anyway to sort of get closer to the truth.
Yeah.
It's the first lie you come across because you go into the recovery hub hoping they're going to say, "Do you know what? I don't think you belong
Oh,
here."
right. Okay. So that's
right.
why it is. Oh,
Yeah.
that's why it is. Okay. So you're downplaying it, hoping that whoever it is that you're talking to is not going to be as alarmed about your drinking as they might otherwise be.
Well, they're trying to get a clean bill of health. I think sometimes we do that at the doctors, don't we?
Yeah, but there's something also about lying, which again isn't confined to addicts, is it? That it becomes, if you do it a lot, it almost becomes harder to tell the truth.
It does, and I will sort of come on to that as in summing up. But you're absolutely right. I mean, when I was thinking about it, I think generally, the people I've known that lie a lot, I often think it's because their lives are quite boring and they're making stuff up to sort of embellish it. I mean, I think we've all known someone like that, haven't we, in our lives? And I remember there's a guy, you know him as well, that I used to work with back in the Standard Life days. And obviously it would be wrong to mention him, but he would lie consistently all the time. And he'd make stuff up like, if you're talking about football, you say, "Oh yeah, I was at the 1966 World Cup final." Okay, and I remember him saying that, and I thought, "Well, you were about 5 or 6 at the time." And he said, "Well, my uncle used to work at Wembley, so he got me a ticket, and I got in the city." So he had to, and then I remember him saying, which again follows on from what we were talking about last week. He said, "Oh yeah, I was really into Genesis. One year I took a year out, I just followed them across Europe, and everyone knew that wasn't the case, but." He would say, and I'm not sure if he believed it himself. I'm sure he couldn't have done, but it just showed him up as being of someone you really couldn't trust much of what he said.
Yeah, that's the thing, though, isn't it? Because if you are embellishing your life story to that extent, then it becomes harder to stop lying because you've kind of built this facade around you about who you are.
Yeah,
that you've then got to climb away from and
yeah.
accept that actually although in terms of excitement, I wouldn't have felt that following Genesis around the world was particularly exciting.
Well, if he's trying to impress,
that is something I would lie about, actually.
Well, yeah, yeah. If you hadn't gone, said, "No, it wasn't me."
Yeah, I saw you following Genesis around the world. No, that was my brother. That was my twin brother.
There's a quote I came across that said that if lying was a job, I know some people who would be billionaires, and I think that's probably right, isn't it? We all come across people that are going back to the pub days. Someone would walk in, and you'd know the minute they open their mouth, it's going to be a lot of old shit coming out.
Yeah, I was just thinking as you were talking there about kind of the reasons that we lie. I'm just trying to think what the things that kind of spring to mind, and maybe you're going to talk about some of these. But
I am. That's the next bit I was going to come on to. Really,
right. I don't want to steal your thunder.
No, well, I said, yeah, I'm welcoming your input, but the research I did, the first thing I did was to Google why do people lie, and it's quite a tricky one. But I did come across a study from the University of Wisconsin, which I thought was quite good. Right. And there's obviously for a variety of reasons, but they put them in percentage order, so this all adds up to 100%. Always adds up to 100%. But
it's interesting.
Yeah, the biggest one really, which was still only 21% of the amount of lies told. 25% are to avoid others, which I think we've probably all done.
To avoid others.
Yeah, to say, "Oh, I can't come out tonight because of this," or
okay.
You see what I mean?
Oh, okay. Oh, that's interesting because we've spoken about that recently, haven't we? I remember it wasn't so long ago. You asked me if I wanted to come to the football, and I said no. I think I just said no, I don't want to come, or whatever it was. And we had a conversation about how actually, in some respects, it's quite refreshing when someone just tells you straight.
Yeah, it is. It is. I wasn't looking for an excuse there. It's just that if you're coming, you're coming. If you're not, and I think we talked about no being a complete sentence, and it's quite tough to pull off with people you don't know. Because I know you so well. If you just said no, that would be good enough.
Yeah,
you wouldn't need to expand. But I think most of the time that we do with anyone, we expand, don't we? We
that's
put
that's about an absence of assertiveness, isn't it? That's about a lack of assertiveness. I don't know if we've done assertiveness.
It's on my list.
Oh, so that is about a lack of assertiveness, isn't it? When you feel that you have to lie because to tell the truth would in some way either upset the other person,
Yeah,
or put you in some jeopardy, possibly because you've upset the other person. So,
yeah,
it's like if your friend asks you to do something, sometimes you can feel compelled to say yes because you think, well, if I say no, then I'm going to damage the friendship.
yeah. And if
But without thinking that lying actually is quite damaging to a friendship.
that's the thing, isn't it? It
Mm.
is, but you try and hope that lie will never be caught out, it'll never be found out, but it does tend to catch up with you, doesn't it?
It is interesting though that that they found that the top finding was that we lie to avoid other people. I find that fascinating.
It is quite fascinating. Now, I can't for one moment say this is a comprehensive study and this is the definitive answer.
No.
But if it's quite difficult to find any studies, and I'd imagine that when people are filling it in, they probably lie on the form anyway. So,
Yeah. I don't know
so
why you would in that situation though,
no,
really.
no, no. But again, if you're a compulsive liar, you'd find it difficult to put down to put the truth down.
That
No,
feels like, one of the reasons that we lie, it may be on this list that you've got, is fear, isn't it? We're afraid of a consequence.
yes,
So
we
we think, oh, well, if I tell you the truth here, the consequence or the likely consequence is something I can't bear, and therefore it's better for me to lie to you.
yeah, yeah. No, I agree. Fear isn't actually on there, but I think it's ingrained in some of the other things I was just going to come on to. The second most popular, if that's the right word to use, is 20% of lies are humour or a joke or a prank. So you're telling a lie in that sort of fashion.
Really?
Yeah,
That seems bizarre.
it is. But I'll give you an example
Yeah.
because I remember doing it once as a joke, and it sort of had consequences.
Right.
It was. Do you remember the time when it was just brought in to reduce the amount of single-use plastics? The supermarkets were bringing in a 5p charge for their
Yeah.
bags, for those
Yeah.
plastic bags.
Mm-hmm.
It was all new, and I remember saying to this girl I was seeing at the time, as a joke, I said, "Oh yeah, I heard the other day that someone went into Sainsbury's and they got fined for using a Tesco's bag, just as a joke." And she said, "No, that's outrageous." So we moved on in a conversation. And it wasn't until a couple of weeks later she told me that she told her mum, who had emailed Sainsbury's to complain. And I said, "Do you realise that was a joke?" And you said, "Oh my God, no, I wasn't quite sure," but my mum took it on board, and yeah, she got quite a curt reply back saying that none of the stores would dare impose such a fine. Everyone's free to use their own bags. But that
So
was a lie I told in humour as a joke, and it went wrong.
yeah, you ended up shaming your girlfriend's mother.
I did, yeah. I didn't like her anyway, so that's fair enough.
That's another story.
It is, yeah.
Humor. I feel like I've got to find a kind of another way of looking at that, because that feels like a. I'll tell you why that makes me uncomfortable. The idea that we lie sometimes for humor that's like, oh, it's okay then.
Yeah.
It's not okay then, is it? Though it's not okay. I mean, perhaps you're coming on to that question. Are you coming on to the question? Is it ever okay to lie?
Sort of, yeah, sort of. But we carry on. We come back to that, but we carry on this list. There's
Okay.
loads on. I don't want to go through them all really, but
Yeah.
The next one down was 14% of lies to protect one's self, and I think they gave the example that no, they weren't an example. I thought about it and probably thought that most people would lie to the police, for example. You know, if you get nicked for something, you try and lie your way out.
We didn't have to do that time, did we? When we got stopped in town, do you remember?
We didn't have to lie because we weren't doing anything wrong.
Correct.
We got roughed up a bit, but we didn't.
They were searching us for drugs, weren't they?
They were, yeah.
I mean, I didn't. I know it was very naive of me, but I don't think I realised it at the time.
No. Well, no, they said they were searching for. They thought there's robberies in the area, didn't they? They looked because I remember you saying to the policeman, "You're looking in your wallet. Well, you're looking for a crowbar, mate," and it all got a bit spronky, didn't it?
Yeah. Well, I've been drinking.
We both of us had, yeah. So
what do you expect?
Well, exactly. We're not going to be. Yeah. We were going to be out of order. That's for sure. Yeah. Oh, the next one down is to impress or appear more favourable, which we've talked about.
I get that one.
Yeah.
I get that one.
That one, well, I thought would be a bit higher up. I think I've known quite a lot of people that do that.
Yeah, I mean, for instance, I've been telling you for years that I'm a therapist.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I've got no evidence to
no.
either.
Well, you don't know that I am, do you?
I've got no evidence to back it up or to deny it, so I've just let it go.
I mean, I could be sitting at home all day, every day, watching daytime television in my underpants and playing video games.
You could be. Or watch Homes Under the Hammer.
I've never watched Homes Under the Hammer.
It's not great viewing. So yes, where did I get to? Yeah, to appear more favourable, to protect another person. So you might lie to save the face or the skin of your girlfriend or whatever, or your partner,
Yeah.
or children probably.
Yeah.
I think we'd probably be happy to do it to protect your kids.
I'm just trying to think about a circumstance under which I suppose, yeah, I don't know. Probably we would, wouldn't we?
We would, and or the next one was for personal benefit or gain, and I've jotted down there, on our CVs. I
Yeah.
think we all lie on our CV. What was
Benefit fraud?
benefit fraud? I haven't ever done that, but I suppose I suspect, not suppose, that's not really a word, is it? I suspect a lot of people have done that. But what struck me when I was going through this, I thought, Christ, there's a lot of reasons we do lie. And each one of them, I thought, yeah, I've probably had a bit of that in the past. And they'll ask two or three, where for the benefit of another person, which is probably a little bit
that's similar to the last one, isn't
it? Yeah, or to protect another person. Yeah, very similar.
So I've written some things down that I thought maybe they're kind of included in this, but shame is one of the reasons we lie, isn't it?
Going back to the addict, that's one of the reasons we do that.
Yeah, sure, so we lie because we feel ashamed of the truth.
Yeah.
How much are you drinking? 2 bottles of vodka a day. That's probably harder to say to someone than I have the odd snifter, isn't it?
It is, which is why it's such a relief when you do eventually say it in a group where other people say, yeah, it's about right. Yeah, I'm doing that as well.
Fear, we've talked about that one. Saving face, we've kind of talked about that one, haven't we? I think one of the reasons we lie also is when we're kind of inadvertently or maybe kind of consciously taking responsibility for other people's emotions, which is part of that. You get asked by a friend if you want to do something, and you say, "Oh, I can't," rather than "No, I don't fancy it." And really, what you're doing there is you're taking responsibility for the other person's emotion. You're saying, "Well, if I protect you from the truth, then it will be better for you." And we do that all the time, and it's a really destructive thing to do. It's much better just to tell someone the truth and give them responsibility for how they feel about that, and give them the opportunity maybe to tell you, "Well, I don't feel very happy about that, or I feel a bit hurt," or whatever it is. But of course, that does take quite a lot of emotional courage. But I definitely think that's one of the reasons that we lie.
I think you've just illustrated that you are indeed a therapist.
Yeah, maybe. Or I just read a lot about it. Excitement, you've already said. Attention, you've already said. And I think one that is, I think, missing from that list is for sympathy. We lie when we want to appear. Where I mean, this is a big one for people that I've worked with over the years. Sometimes one of the things we certainly do is kind of maintain our emotional distress inadvertently or unconsciously. But sometimes we can even kind of lie about it because there's a fear that if we aren't sick or unhappy or whatever it is, that people will stop noticing us.
That is very true. I hadn't really thought about that, and that should be on the list somewhere, shouldn't it? It may be integrated in one of those others I've talked about, but certainly, perhaps to make it to impress others. But
I wonder if you. Sorry, I wonder if you ever. Do you ever get people? Maybe this doesn't happen in recovery because I suppose once you've started in your recovery, the benefit of recovery is so clear that you wouldn't really need to. But I wonder if, if you are an active addict, then you are getting a lot of attention from people around you, of course, because you're the center of their angst and their worry and so on. And when you start to get sober or clean or whatever it is, I wonder if sometimes there is that kind of, oh, hang on, there's almost a kind of negative consequence to being whatever normal is, because now people expect me to be able to do all the things that everyone else can do, and I'm not sure I really want to live up to that expectation. I wonder if sometimes there can be the temptation to lie, oh, I'm wobbling a bit, I'm having a bit of trouble at the moment, to kind of get a bit more attention,
that does happen. That's happened in the past. I can put my finger on a number of cases where people perhaps do that. And I also remember someone came to groups. It turned out wasn't an addict after all. So he was lying about being an addict, which is a little bit weird.
Wow.
Uh, yeah.
What's that about?
Well, they were doing a some sort of study at college,
Oh,
um,
that's terrible thing to
and then
do.
they lied. We found out about it later on, but yeah, they lied that they actually had addiction problems, and their story fell apart quite quickly.
I bet it did
Yeah.
under the scrutiny of fellow addicts.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so they sort of disappeared, and we didn't see them again, thankfully. But that was quite an interesting concept. I sort of respected their bravery, but didn't
Well,
like. I don't know why they went.
that's lying for personal gain, isn't it?
It is, isn't it? Yeah. The last one really, which was well 5%, was lying for no specific reason or for no reason at all. Some people do that, don't they? Certainly the compulsive liar will lie when they don't need to lie, uh, and will lie when the truth is perhaps better.
I wonder if that comes back to what we were saying before about how if you kind of get into a rhythm of lying about stuff,
Yeah,
it's almost easier for a lie to come out your mouth than it is for you to tell the truth.
yeah,
It's like you kind of create this sense of it's almost as if you're kind of creating a world in which you want to live rather than one in which you actually do live.
yeah.
And so it becomes harder to tell the truth than it does to lie.
It does. And again, when I was thinking about this, I know that, and I've done it in the past where I've told a lie to someone to test whether they are going to be able to keep a secret.
Yeah, to test trust. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's another reason that we lie. Definitely.
It wasn't on the list, but I thought when I was looking at it, I thought, yeah, I've done that. I've told people something just to see if it was going to get repeated on and get back to me. And the bigger the lie, the more difficult it is for them to keep that to themselves. Or especially if you say to them before you tell them this lie, don't tell anyone else, will you? But and go on to tell it. It's a good.
Isn't that the Wagatha Christie trial, isn't it?
Yeah. I suppose it is, isn't
It's
it? Yeah.
Colleen Rooney and Rebecca Vardy. That's what she
Yeah.
did. She set a honey trap, didn't she?
You did, yeah.
So she told a lie in order to catch her, and
Yeah.
several £1 million later. So I suppose that kind of gets back to that question about is it ever kind of okay to lie?
Yeah.
Tricky one, isn't it? That
it is tricky one.
Tricky ethical one, I think.
It is. I'll come on to that in a second. But in the survey, they tried to work out how often people lie, and the consensus was that about 75% of the survey respondents said they lie between 0 and twice a day. Which zero is
that's not many, is it?
It's not many, mate. But
no.
You don't know how many days they do that consistently like that. But
I reckon that's hard to answer though, because I bet that we probably tell if you take lying as literally any time you don't tell the full truth.
Yeah,
I reckon we do it much more than we realise.
I think you're right. And when I was trying to think about it myself, yeah, looking down the list, I've done them all. And you think, well, perhaps I'm a compulsive liar, but I certainly find that it's much easier to tell the truth these days. It's much easier in active addiction to lie all the time. But when you start to sober up and get a conscience and get a bit of humility, then the truth becomes a much more empowering emotion.
Yeah, it's much more comfortable, isn't it?
It is.
I think we again, if you take it literally, even if someone says to you, I don't know, what do you want for dinner? And you think, well, I know what I want, but I'm not sure you'll want it. Yeah. You say, I don't mind. That's a lie.
It is a lie, yeah.
What do you want to watch on the do you mind if we watch the football? No, that's all right. When you do mind, it's a lie. So I think there are gradients of lies, aren't there? There are some lies that are more harmful than others. I'm not sure I necessarily agree with the white lie, black lie thing.
Well, I'll come on to that in just a second, because there is just a little bit on that. But the next part of the survey was how who do people lie to? Okay, and the biggest, over half of it was to friends.
That kind of makes sense, though, doesn't it? Because they're the people you talk to the most.
It is. And the next one down, 21% was to family. And then after that, it was schools or business colleagues. I suspect we've all probably just rung in, haven't we, with the putting on the voice. Hello.
Well, I was just thinking about work. I'm kind of thinking back to, we've both worked in a sales environment in the past.
Yeah.
I mean, that's full of lies, isn't it? Have you got anything in the pipeline at the moment? Oh yeah, I've got this on and I've got that on and I've got something else. It's like, that's pure fabrication a lot of the time.
It is, and you when you're out on the road, you can get up to all sorts, can't you? You've got your own time to do stuff which isn't work related. So you're probably lying to the bosses. Yeah, you're always ticking the boxes saying something about the calls.
There's quite a trend of lying really these days with a lot of working from home, which is called quiet quitting. Have you heard of that?
No.
Quiet quitting is when people who work remotely do the kind of bare minimum and log off early when they know they're not going to be found out.
Okay.
So that's lying as well, isn't it? We'd probably be doing that if we were still working corporately, wouldn't we?
I think
we used to do that because we used to go to the pub at lunchtime, didn't we? And
we did. Or
spend a couple of hours in there, which is not really.
Or no, exactly. Or go around to yours and play sensible soccer.
Exactly. Yeah.
In fact,
it was more fun than work, wasn't it?
Much more fun than work. Yeah. But I know someone that during lockdown, he was a computer programmer guy, and he wrote this own little program which moved his mouse about, and it looked like he was doing work right when he was off. He'd go off to the gym and everything, and it looked like he was working right on his computer. But needs must, I suppose. But I think the irony of that was that we spoke to him about it. He's not doing it anymore. He didn't get caught, but he got promoted on the back of the work he was doing during COVID. Which was bizarre.
He was hoisted by his own petard, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. Well, he got promoted, got a pay rise and everything, but he had to do work at that point. Yeah.
He'd probably make quite a lot of money out of selling that little bit of software.
Yes. Yeah, he did. He kept it very much close to his chest, that one. But that's about, well, what types of lies do people tell the most? Just coming on to what you're talking about, these little lies, because they said that most of the lies we tell, around about 90%, are the little lies or little white lies, as you call them, or don't like that, which are things like saying, I think you've sort of touched on it, like if you get a gift that you don't really like and you say, oh, that's lovely, thank you very much. And then it characterized, the rest of them are quite big lies that we'd tell. Like, well, they put the example of saying, insincerely telling someone that I love you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Which is, it is quite a big, isn't it? But there's also, there's big ones that are going back to, with the police, for example, you could tell some quite whoppers to try and keep your side of the street clean on that.
I wonder where on that spectrum, I've often had this conversation with people where we all kind of need on it at least one honest friend, don't we?
I think so.
Because I think what happens with friends is they quite often they'll tell us what we want to hear.
Yeah.
What do you think about this situation? And everyone's like, yeah, that's really bad. You've been really badly treated there. Whereas you really want the friend that says, no, I think that's fair enough. I think you're being a bit victimy. You're making a big thing about this. You just got to get on with it, mate.
Yeah.
So I bet that's an area of a lot of lies. It's like does my bum look big in this? No, exactly. You look great. It's that, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
So that's hard. It's in those sort of situations, in some respects, it's even harder to tell the truth because you think, oh, it won't really matter if I lie here. But
it is tough. It is tough, especially if you're, I think we're probably both in this position when you're going out for the evening with your partner and they're trying on different dresses. And it seems to be taking an inordinate amount of time. And then you just say, that looks really good. That's the one. Where perhaps it wouldn't have been your choice, but you keep the peace. And so it's one of those lies which is acceptable to go forward, I think, isn't it?
Well, if you're in active addiction, you definitely do that because you'd be desperate to get to the bar, wouldn't you?
Well, you would, yeah. You'd have just dragged them out in their first dress. That'd do.
Yeah, that's right. In their joggers.
You look lovely. Let's go. The bar's open. But I just wanted to. I've got a couple of quotes. I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to add at this point. I was sort of getting towards the wrapping up. If you,
I don't think I have. No, I don't think so.
There's a couple of quotes. The first one was from Alexander Pope, and he was a 17th century English poet, and he was also a satirist of the Enlightenment era.
Right.
Which nice. I like that. Oh, well, we'd all like to be a satirist of Enlightenment eras, wouldn't we?
Well, given the chance, yeah. You never know. You might come back as a satirist of the Enlightenment era.
But he said, he who tells a lie is not sensible of how great a task he undertakes, for he must be forced to invent 20 more to maintain that one. Which is right, isn't it? So long ago as the late 1600s, we knew, you tell a lie, you're going to have to tell a load more often to
Yeah,
back that up.
to protect it. Yeah,
Exactly. Um, and the other one was to remember, if you tell the truth, you don't have to remember anything, which is quite nice as well, isn't it?
yeah. A salutary lesson for all
It
the
is, isn't it?
youngsters out
Yeah,
there because they're quite
absolutely
good at
right.
telling lies. I bet you and your brothers told a lot of lies when you were kids.
All the time, just to get each other into trouble. A lot of the time, yeah, purposely. But that's about it, really, mate. That's about it.
Good,
I want
excellent.
I wanted to go on to the gratitude list. Really,
Okay, you
I've
want me to
got
go first?
yeah. Go on. I think I went first last week, so yeah, you go. You have a crack at this one.
You did. So this week I've been working on a presentation about how to stay connected when you work remotely, right?
Okay. Oh yes, I read your blog regarding some of that. Yes.
Yeah. And so one of the things that I hadn't really thought about, but came up in terms of one of the reasons quite often we feel disconnected working remotely is having an inappropriate workspace. You know, you
Yeah.
think about it, I'd never thought about it, but it makes sense. If you've not really got anywhere to sit and work, or there are other people in the house, or you share your house with people, or whatever it might be. And so I thought, the reason I hadn't thought about that is because we've got a lovely desk that's really quiet in front of the window where I can kind of look out. And so I'm really kind of fortunate in terms of having a nice space to work, albeit that I, now work at home much more than I used to. So I feel really grateful for that, because I'm sure that if that was a stress and a strain and I didn't really have anywhere to work consistently, it would make a big negative difference to me. So,
Yeah.
I'm grateful to IKEA for my for my big trestle desk.
That would be the only time I'd ever be thankful or grateful to IKEA. But I think that that's a bit disingenuous. But you're right. I mean, you heard some horror stories during COVID of people sitting on the edge of their bed, didn't you? Doing with a laptop on their lap, just doing and working from there, or on the kitchen. I suppose the kitchen table's not quite so bad, but it's still not totally the right environment, is it?
Well, I found unfortunately, when I was doing that research, I kind of fell into a bit of a rabbit hole. Started looking for examples of inappropriate
Mm.
workspaces, and the two favourite pictures, which I put in my presentation, the two favourite pictures I found were one, someone working with their laptop on an ironing board, and the other one was on a kind of child's desk just above a little toy piano, which I thought was, when you get a little bit fed up with doing your work, you can have a little go on the toy piano, maybe
Little tinkle.
yeah, a little tinkle. But I just imagined having to work in either of those spaces, and I thought, no, I wouldn't be able to do that. So I feel pretty grateful for that.
When are you doing the presentation?
Tomorrow.
Are you?
Mm.
That's a
Well,
shame.
not tomorrow when you're listening to this.
Oh
It was
no, it was
last Monday.
last Monday. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm.
Okay, I'll come along. Wait, I'll crash it. I'll gate crash. Where are you doing the presentation?
No, I'm not telling you that.
All right.
Mm.
Well, on my gratitude list, and I know we don't talk about football, but
But we're going to.
we're going to. I'm grateful for the increasing profile of women's football.
I think that's probably the acceptable face of football on this
It is.
podcast.
I watched the England versus the USA game on the television the other night, and after watching the Euros during the summer, which was fabulous. And in fact, I'm going to go to my first WSL game soon.
Really?
Yeah, I am. It, yeah, I was got my
Good for you.
yeah. Well, my cousin,
Yeah.
her partner had a couple of tickets, and my cousin didn't want to go.
Right.
So I'm going off to watch Arsenal women against Man United women at the Emirates.
Very nice.
Yeah, which is it's. I'm looking forward to it. I haven't been to the Emirates, so it's supposed to be a lovely stadium. So I'm looking forward to that. So that would be good. So I'm grateful for that. But do you know what? It's £12 ticket to get in.
Yeah, it's a bit different from the 60 or whatever it is to go and see her.
Yeah.
No, I agree with that. And actually, I have found that I think I enjoy watching elite women's football more than men's now.
It's strange, isn't it? Because I was thinking about it. It's £12 to go and watch Arsenal against Man United, and I was thinking, I hope Man United. I hope Russo's playing because he plays for Man United, and this one. You've got now. I'm getting to know the women players. I'm looking forward to seeing them. And you pay 12 quid for that, and you pay 19 quid to watch Maidstone scuff the ball around badly down at the Gallagher. And I'm thinking, this is a bit weird.
There you go. Well, that's where the future lies, then.
You do. So that's it, really. I just wanted to come on to daysoftheyear.com.
Hang on, before you do that.
Yeah. Oh, go on. You've got something else to crack on with, Amy.
Nigel Lawson.
Did I not say him?
Well, I didn't say him, so you didn't tell me whether he was on your list.
He was on the list, but I think you're right. I think I missed him.
Right.
But yeah.
And I have Nigella Lawson.
yeah. I don't know. She wouldn't have been able to get in on the show.
Well, that's a bit unfair.
Sexist. Really.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
Days of the Year. I need. There's a load on there, but there's one that caught my eye which was the International Beer and Pizza Day. You can imagine how I felt about that.
Pizza Day.
You can imagine how I felt about that. I mean, it's not only is it. That's poor quality fare anyway, isn't it? It's a bad diet.
Well, it depends if you make it yourself.
Yeah, well, you will make your own beer, I suppose, as well. Yeah.
Well, I don't know about that, but certainly make your own pizza.
I thought that's probably just about everything that's wrong with the cuisine, and we've got an obesity problem, but and promoting it in such a positive fashion. Everyone likes a warm, foaming, ale beer and a pizza. And it was very flowery.
It was only a couple of weeks ago that it was National Beer Lovers Day.
I know, it's crazy. I was thinking to myself, they might as well have a crack and chips day. You know what I mean? One of that, or have one of heroin and halloumi day. Go the full hog.
Oh dear, I can't stand halloumi.
Or heroin.
I'm not that keen on heroin. I reckon crack and chips could take off.
I won't be indulging myself, but yeah. Yeah, it did make me laugh. Well, I was a little bit concerned, but I tried to see the funny side of it.
Oh, that would be fantastic if crack and chips turns up on daysoftheyear.com.
And that's it really. But I did come across another website called This Day in Music, which I quite liked as well.
Right.
Because today, being the 9th of October, is John Lennon's birthday.
Oh.
Bit of a hero of mine, so I'm happy with that. So I might put this in. I might put this in as a feature as well. This Day in Music, I think.
I've heard of him.
You've heard of John Lennon?
He wouldn't have got into Nige Fest, though, would he?
No, he wouldn't have. But that'd have turned him out the door, even if he was the hired band for the night.
Funnily enough, I can't think of any famous musical Nigels apart from. Kennedy. I'm thinking of kind of rock bands and pop. I can't think of any. Can you?
No, a lot of people use pseudonyms anyway, and I suspect they wouldn't use the name Nigel, would they?
Oh, I don't know. Why not?
Because for the very reason that we said right at the start of this, it's becoming extinct. It's not a popular name.
Well, no, maybe between 2016 and 2020 or whatever it was, but back in when we were born in the 60s, there were plenty of Nigels around, and I mean, maybe there's some reason why Nigels haven't risen to prominence in the pop music world.
Well, perhaps it was killed off by XTC when they did "We're Only Making Plans for Nigel."
Mm.
Yeah, see, and that was used then in quite a derogatory term.
Do you think XTC would have got into Nige Fest on the basis of writing that song?
They should have been the entertainment for the night.
Should have been, yeah. They should have. I expect there's a band called the Nigels. It's bound to be, isn't there?
Probably
some sort of little, post-punk.
Yeah, there probably is. I might put that on their Spotify list if I'm not actively putting music on there. I might put the XTC track on.
Good idea. All right. Is that it?
That's about it, mate, isn't it?
All right, then. I'll see you next time. I thought you were going to do an Eric Morecambe there.
Oh, I'm going to take my glass off. That means we've finished. I don't have to read my notes anymore.
Nice one. All right. Later.
Okay, mate. See you later.
Bye. Bye.
Sideways was created by Graham Landy and Martin Pankhurst. If you want to read more about our work or sort through the extensive archive of past episodes, just visit grahamlandywellbeing.co.uk/sideways-podcast. You can follow us on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram at Sideways Podcast, and you can email us if you have a question or if there's something you'd like us to cover. But most of all, we want to tell you how grateful we are that you come and listen, and we ask that if you've enjoyed what you've heard, that you spread the word. And we'll see you next week.